For the evolutionary astrology series according to your moon sign. For those of y'all that's just coming in for the first time, my name is Rainy Storm, your evolutionary karmic astrologer, specializing in specifically just that. Now, if you're looking to reach me, you can find me at a rainy storm. Oh, I was gonna say rainystorm.wix.com, and I guess you still can find me on my new website and everything. But you could definitely find me down at the link tree at the bottom below, slash a rainy storm for bookings, personal readings, one-on-ones, and also courses as well. So thank y'all for tuning in. We are going to be getting into something just got my lip. Getting into the Gemini moon sign series of this series. I wanted to start to really talk about what it is to connect to your moon sign in regards to like your past life, your mothership, the divine feminine in your life that was very present in your life and what you've experienced, and really kind of dive deeper into the moon and also just the karmic nodes itself and what that actually means for you, or if you know somebody that has this moon or you just coming along to follow along, then here we are. I think I said, did I say Gemini moon? Okay, Gemini moon and Cancer moon, and then we'll get into that. So we're going to briefly go over what the moon actually means, what we're going to be basically in regards to like your ancestral ties and past, and then we'll talk about a little bit about the mother upbringing and relationship there, and then we'll talk a little bit of how to alchemize that energy moving forward. So that's a little bit about what we'll be covering. But what does it represent when we talk about here? So first and foremost, when we are talking about the moon sign in general, we are talking about a moon phase that literally travels every I would say 2.5 to 3 days. We can see the moon swiftly change. So when we're looking at and also not only does it change that quickly, but it's the closest to the sun. The moon is actually the closest to the sun. So what we see when the moon changes so quickly is like I would say the breadth of vast amount of range that this moon energy has. And so when it goes into Gemini, especially just seeing the sign of Gemini here, you can see someone with a past life that is just very vast. Could have lived multiple different types of lives, worlds, and things like that. And we're going to kind of get into that for sure. So exalted in Taurus, fall in Scorpio. I don't think I mentioned that in the other previous videos, but that's where the moon falls. I think I said that. If exalted in Taurus, detriment in Capricorn, fall in Scorpio. The moon represents the emotions. It represents the past, a divine feminine. Children is also where we can see the moon. Your ancestral home as well, and as well is like a physical home or where you feel the most comfortable. Also, when we talk about your internal home versus like just the physical home, like where your emotional body actually lies. This is where we can see your needs is also seated here, your inner child, healing, all the things that have to do with like your actual fears and what you really hold in, your reactive energy. I know we could talk about Mars here, but it really, you could see this also with this energy of the moon, of just like how you naturally, your natural innate instincts kind of come out with this moon energy here as well too. And the soul, your soul energy. Also the moon is the keeper of time, and it's also the keeper of the waters and things, as what we can see with this moon energy here. It's revealed in crisis and those two who know us closest. I like to think of the moon, as we talk about, as the bedroom, right? The private sector of the home. And so when we get into this is where we find our deepest fears, our hidden selves. So when we're getting into the Cancer moon and what that means for the Cancerian moon, why I keep wanting to go to Cancer so bad? This is next. Let's get into Gemini moon. I'm sorry, y'all. When we get into Gemini moon, we're talking about the past lives that have to do with the messengers, right? Because Gemini is mercurial and is ruled by the planet Mercury. This is the energy where we can see where the messages are constantly traveling, right? There's messages over here, there's messages over there. It's constantly being connected to a thing or something. Usually, what we see Gemini energy, just in when we talk about just historical wise, it's always been the messenger and communicator of the sun. um just a brief like picture that I get about Gemini moon, especially like in a past life, when I think about this energy, is like I don't know why I'm getting like a medieval time, Victorian age kind of energy. And like I want to say like the knight that rides up, but like not the jester. I guess you could see Gemini as like the jester energy, kind of, sort of. But somebody kind of riding up on the horse, you know, and they've traveled like long, far, and wide, right, on the horse. And they're like, I've come to deliver a message from the king of Zanzibar, the king of Zanzibar. And they get off the horse and they roll the thing down and they're like, and they're like, the king of has said, or the pharaoh of has said that they are going to cease fire if they're given gold and whatever, right? So they come to deliver and be messengers. And that's only one way out of many ways that we can think about this Gemini moon energy, right? Of being in this place of delivering the message. And so you could have had a lot of ancestors that were travelers, that were nomadic. They might have lived many lives in one carnation or incarnation of themselves. So you could have seen ancestors that lived, for example, maybe they went to China or somewhere to, or the Middle East or somewhere to learn new languages. And I'm actually Gemini moon, Vedic Gemini moon. So I can definitely see this here for my particular family, even though I'm Cancer moon, Western. I can also see that too. But the traveler, nomadics, um, you know, and I also have Gemini in my fourth house too, Western. So I could, yeah, it's all here. But just being in this energy of like traveling to these different places and traveling to these different countries and maybe learning from different people here and how they eat and how they live and how they think and what's going on in the neighborhood here and things that they're doing here, and taking all this information and being able to either bring it home or taking all this information and connecting it to other people in different places. So it acts as the connector, right? And you can use this energy for good. I don't even want to say for good or bad, because it's like I said, good or bad is kind of subjective in this way. But we can see this energy as something that can be constructive or destructive, right? You know, we could have had ancestors that we could have been a little bit gossipy, you know. I like to think of the telephone game when I think of Gemini energy here, where it's like it started off as one message, and the messenger's telling this message, and the other messenger's telling the message, this message, and this message. But then when it actually got to the person that it was supposed to get to, it was like a completely different message. So like, what actually message is the message, you know? So that's what I look at when I think of like the Gemini moon energy here. So being in, like I said, constantly moving, growing, learning, acquiring skills. Gemini also rules the hands, so they could have done a lot of things with their hands, whether that was like with music, pottery, creating, making, shifting things. They might have been airbenders as well, for my avatar benders out there, my avatar buds out there. They could have done or created things with their hands. They could have been energetic movers, so like Reiki healings, or anything that has to do with moving energy with the hands. They could have been builders as well, architects, much like Taurus moon's energy here, just being able to be builders. Or I would say Taurus is more so like the blueprint, right? And then Gemini actually can put these things into action. Also too, Gemini could be the brain behind it as well. But you could see somebody who is able to create things out of their hands. The thing that's coming up for me, especially with Gemini moon energy here, is like creating something out of nothing, right? being able to be in a place of um, uh, things that might have started off as like clutter or whatever, like Gemini moon right here can turn things into gold, you know. This is also too because it's Mercurial ruled, Mercury, which is the planet of communication. This is the energy that might have been a really like the way that they communicate or way that they talk or the way that they speak, it was able to transmute multiple people in rain. So basically, not only were they picking up on other people's languages and stuff, but they were able to connect with people in these different languages. So they might have taken this particular language and could speak this language, but then they went to another place and was like, okay, well, these are how these people are speaking here. And that's not more so necessarily Libra diplomatic type of energy, but they were able to break down very complex things or complex symbols or complex languages to the point where people were able to understand those things. So that's a very much so a skill that this Gemini energy definitely could have wielded in its journey here. Tradings, the merchants of the group. I also like to think, I know that Gemini is a air sign, but I like to think because it has to do also with travel and transportation. I know we used to think of like Uranian energy or Aquarian energy as travel and transportation, but also Gemini is also a traveler and things like that. Air in general is traveler, but more so Gemini. And I like to think of Aquarius too as like the movers. Um, I like to think of Gemini being somebody who traveled a lot, especially back in the day by water, like boats and ships and things like that. So they were the people who could have built the boats and ships and things. And they, because the air, not only the water is pushing you, but the air, like what direction to go and things like that, you could have had people who were conductors of these boats and things, right? So they took these vast I would even go beyond to say, this is all coming to me, I didn't even write this down. I would even go beyond to say that Gemini was this energy that were helping to support, to create the maps and the mapping, because they sailed the seas and they were able to travel from place to place, that they were probably mercurial. They were able to be like, okay, so this is where this place is, and this is where this place is, okay, and this is where you go here to get to this place. They knew how to navigate the seas by I forget, I like to call, maybe I'll just say the wings of the boat, because I don't know exactly what it's called, but the things that keep the flagships that kind of keep the boats afloat. So when you're sailing in one direction and you shift it, the according to the wind, it can shift you in that direction. So I do feel like Gemini was definitely big on that energy too, of like being able to like really shift and navigate this energy as well, just in direction of travel. Gifted healers specifically, like I said, with the hands, major healers, when specifically, like I said, when it comes to the hands. um I would even like to say when it comes to divination, you could have had an ancestral past of people in your familial um, energy, all forms of divination as well too. It doesn't necessarily just have to be with the hands, but they could have been skilled communicators of the unseen. So any kind of clair abilities, those could have been very big for Gemini energy. Um, but I would definitely say specifically with the mind. So maybe having like a dream, waking up, being able to speak about that dream, being able to speak and communicate things that they know, just like being a messenger, like downloading these things to people. Um, it's a couple different, I feel like, clear energies and healing capacities, especially with Gemini here, but vastly intelligent, very much so picking up from its immediate environment, and your ancestors were very much so that, like I said, very nomadic, could have moved a lot. So if you find yourself moving a lot or needing to move a lot, um, just specifically, you might have had ancestors who moved and traveled a lot. I think a big thing also too, especially if you had like an afflicted moon, or you have like some type of afflicted moon, or is aspected with like a square or any kind of opposition, especially depending on what it is, and where it's at. You could have either had ancestors that were very good messengers and communicators, or maybe they struggled with communication. Like that was something that was like not the biggest strong suit for them, and they could have struggled with learning how to speak, learning how to communicate, learning how to um, connect, right? Um, there's an energy that we talk about with Gemini and being very detached from certain things. Not to say that Gemini does not have or experience emotions, but because they're more in practical and are more focused on like practical matters and things like that, and they think with their mental capacities first. There could have been a hard time connecting to how they feel, therefore not being able to communicate those things in the best way. So like I said, you definitely want to see what's going on in your chart. And also too, while we're going through this video, y'all definitely leave comments below. I love to hear what y'all feel and think about this energy as we go on and move on. Definitely like, share. If you know somebody with the Gemini moon, or you just, like I said, just want to share the knowledge, definitely do that. Now we're going to move on to the mother when it comes to Gemini energy and the past lives, or specifically maybe the relationship that you had with the mother and how that could have played out. You could have had a mother that was constantly moving with this Gemini energy. So you could have had a mother that was constantly over here, constantly over there. Like it was really hard, to pin the mother or the divine feminine energy in your life down. Like I said, they just could have been just all over the place. Like their energy was very restless here, there, everywhere. It could have been a lot of things going on specifically in the home for you in your upbringing. So there could have been just a lot of either, you could have seen a lot of like maybe there's just like a lot of either music, television going, or they could have had a lot of people coming in and out the house, people coming in, people coming out. Especially because we talk about traveling and things like that. Maybe you've had a mother who traveled for like work, or traveled for just things in particular, like just kind of just in and out. Like it was emotionally even hard to pin down the mother, like really grasp where they were at emotionally, because like maybe they were very hot and cold. So one minute they was like this, and then the next minute they were just like, I kind of think of the face of like, and then the other face, I forget what it's called, but it was like, like, so I know it's like, but like just thinking about how that twin energy is like vastly moving and changing and things like that. So you really didn't know exactly what was gonna come of it. Definitely like silly, could be really silly and childlike, because Gemini definitely has a very youthful energy. So the mother could have been very either silly, in a goofy mood, kind of childlike kind of energy, or you might have even found yourself having to like raise the mother in a certain, specifically because they just had like this very youthful Geminian energy. So it's kind of like a child or a kid that you kind of have to like, the principal's calling and you're like, well, what did you do now? What do you need me to get you out now? Type thing. And when I say Gemini moon in this energy, your mother does not necessarily have to be a Gemini. This is just the energy that they could have just experienced, or you could have experienced growing up with your mother, your relationship to the mother here. You could have had growing up with your mother, they could have experienced like very restless energy. So it was very hard for maybe not only just to like stop moving and everything like that, but you could have experienced a mother who just, maybe it was hard for her to sleep. Maybe her mind was like always constantly going or turned in or tuned into something that it was hard for her to really just sit down and like stop for a second. So she was just hard to grasp, overly stimulated, but very intellectual. So maybe she had like a vast range of topics, or, the mother figure had a vast range of topics to speak on and talk about and things like that. But they never really got the opportunity to really sit down and like, just, just not, just be able to like really turn off the brain, right? Um, could have been like constantly learning something, so even wanting to teach you new things, or put you on to new things that you haven't learned, or take you to things to help you learn about things, or just very curious. You could have had a mother that was very curious about a lot of things, so she maybe asked a lot of questions about, well, what you got going on here, what do you got going on there, what are you doing with this, what are you doing with that, da, da, da. Just very inquisitive in the things that you have going on in your life, and what it is that the things that you want to do and things like that. That's could have been that. Or like I said, you could have had a mother that it was very hard for y'all to communicate because the emotions were kind of like all over the place, or just you never could quite, there was just maybe like instability in the emotions. So when it was actually came down for y'all to communicate, you could have clashed in that way. There could have been like a clashing, like I said, of emotions there. Very much so more practical, like I said, than emotionally involved. So you could have experienced, like I said, a mother that, or just the divine feminine energy that was just very emotionally just not all the way there. Now if your mother was like I said, the mother was like there, loving, great, but this is like energy that you could have just experienced, just moving and trying to understand, um just, you know just in it. So but I definitely feel like the intelligence and the inquisitive nature of the mother definitely could have been there for sure. Now I will say, like I said, the opposite end of this is not only communication, but there could have been, I'm seeing like this energy of not only like gossipy kind of energy with the mother, but like to like relatives, sisters, brothers, cousins, uncles, whatever, and like familial units and things like that. But there could have maybe been some competitiveness there, especially just in terms of like intelligence, like your own intelligence and things like that. Like, you know, because I don't know, it's that's something that just came up for me. It might not, like I said, be for all, but just because the mother had a natural intelligence, maybe she challenged you in a way that was competitive, or just sometimes over the top. It could have got you into a couple arguments. I'll just say that. Like, oh, well, I know. Like, what are you talking about? I know. You don't know. I know. Like, what? Like, how do you know? How would you know? You don't know nothing. Da, 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 da. So you could definitely have experienced that just growing up and things. And that could have definitely been something that maybe sometimes that y'all clashed in. Um, and I will say, just in alchemization, and when we look at like just how to alchemize and learn from this energy, naturally, I will say that all in all, especially with the Gemini moon, there is a natural sense of instability that has already been pent up from your upbringing and childhood, and even like I said, ancestral past. It's innately in you to move around. It's innately in you to really be curious and have this like natural inquisitive curiosity about you, and curiosity about the world and what happens in it and how things work and how things function. It's a part of your um journey here, so if you feel like sometimes you feel like just a little off footing with your journey, just know that's a part of the process of you being here in this incarnation, and a lot of times of what your ancestors have experienced and also been through. I will say, just to find an equal footing in grounding when it comes to alchemizing this energy is to try to refrain from becoming too overly stimulated. I know it can be hard, especially with the Gemini that craves stimulation, but try to find that stimulation through calming down the nervous system. Gemini rules the hands, but there's other air signs that rule the nerves. And I think Gemini, just with this mercurial energies, is going back and forth. I know it's harder, it's easier said than done with telling the Gemini to like have a seat and sit down, right? But if you could try to find a way to really like ground yourself and ground your energy with this Gemini energy here in a space where you can really get a hold of your thoughts. I think meditation would be very good for Gemini moon. Regularly exercising your physical body, um, especially, I didn't mention this with the ancestral lineage, but you could have had a ancestral lineage that might have been more slender in nature because they moved around so much. um Slender meaning not necessarily like, more so like a physical physique that was maybe a little bit more tall in frame, maybe more slender in frame, and maybe had a very high metabolism due to moving a lot. I'm also too, one thing that's coming up, not only just for the hands, I know I'm reverting back, but just the legs with this Gemini moon energy. I know Gemini doesn't necessarily rule the legs, it's more so Pisces and Sagittarius that kind of go into that region. But just making sure that you're taking care of the legs, because you move a lot, and not just in the physical realm, but you also move around quite a bit in the dream and astral realm as well too, especially with moon here, and the moon also ruling your dreams and things. So you just want to make sure that you're taking care of your physical body and getting a way for you to be able to like really not only express and communicate the energy, but find a way to channel it into something. So whether that's like music, whether that's any type of arts, whether that's any type of anything that has to do with, I don't know, just your overall skill of creativity. Um, Writing is really major for you, whether you have to record yourself or just like writing things out. Um, and just actively being this vessel and mouthpiece, if you will, of expression and things. So, yeah, that's a little bit of what I have for, just Gemini moon and this energy of this moon and evolution of the past lives and relationship to the mother. Like I said, I definitely would love to hear y'all's feedback. Definitely leave comments. Love the video if you loved it. Um, and let me know what y'all think. You already know what it is. It's a rainy storm checking in, checking out. We're gonna be moving into the Cancer energy of Cancer. For those of y'all that are interested, my website is definitely up. Like I said, I'm gonna link below. The new website is up. The courses, I am still trying to integrate the courses into my website. I'm trying to find another way to do that. So the courses, basic one-on-one astrology, will be up soon. But other than that, you already know what it is. It's already starting checking in, checking out without a doubt. I will see y'all soon, and deuces.